Hey, what is up, guys? We are here with the June 23rd patch. There was a ton of changes. I think pretty much every character got a change. We're going to run through all of them, starting from the top. DVorah. She got reduced cancel advantage after her forward 1-1-2 string. This string right here, right? Because they used to be really plus. You were basically stuck, forced to sit there and deal with the mix-up. Not the situation anymore. She also has to hold on to her bug bomb longer before she can run cancel it, because she has all these combos where she does this, holds on to the bug, and does a run cancel combo. Don't worry, those combos still exist. You can still do them, as you see there. They're just a little bit more difficult, especially off of stuff like her back one. But, you know, still possible. Cassie got a change. Her gunshot, which is her main projectile, is now +2 on hit. It's up from -9, which is what it was before, which meant that even if you hit somebody with it, you were punishable, which is weird. That's a fix, and that is it for these two characters. Next up, we have the changes for Ermac and Erron Black. Ermac got some buffs to his Soul Burst and his Soul Blast, so they do a little bit more damage than they used to. The regular version went up 4, and the EX version went up 10. They also made it so that they have bigger hitboxes, so it's not as easy to go under them as before. Erron Black got a change that was pretty important. So he used to be able to cancel his down 3 into his command throw, and whether it hit or was blocked, he would get the command throw after. So it was pretty tough to get out of. Now, if you try to cancel command throw after, as you can see, if you get hit by the move, it doesn't grab you. But if you still block it, then, you know, he can still get the command grab after. So just another thing to think about. Next up, we have the changes for Ferritor and Goro. Ferritor got more damage on both the regular and EX command throw that has access to in Ruthless. And Goro got a bunch of changes that basically give him more time to pressure you on knockdown, for instance, like his chest lunge move. Has more frames after, you can see there. It kind of takes a while for his opponent to get up. Same thing with the EX one, has some extra frames. Same thing with this universal command throw. Some more time at the end for you to set up mix-ups and stuff like that. And he got that change in a couple of different variations. Same thing with his Shokan stabs in his Dragon Fangs, as well as some damage scaling fixes in his Fury variation. Next up, we have the changes for Jason and Johnny Cage. Jason got a bunch of hitbox fixes on a lot of his moves that were being low profiled pretty easily, so now that should no longer happen. And he got a buff in Relentless to make it so that the recovery frames on Dark Pursuit when you do the EX version is much shorter. So normally this is what they look like. If I hold up here, you can see that's how long it takes until I can jump. EX version much sooner, right? So a lot less recovery frames on that. Johnny Cage got some changes as well in Fisticuffs. His back one now, instead of being 9 frame startup, is 10 frame startup, which means it's a little longer until it reaches his opponent. And now, instead of his back 1-2 being being 0 on block on certain attacks, it is now always -3. So this, or any variation of that will always be -3 on block instead of 0. Next up, we have Kano and Kenshi. Kano actually got a couple of buffs. His EX Kano Ball, as you can see there, does 14% now, a little bit more than it used to. And the up Kano Ball does a little bit of extra damage too. A lot safer on block now as well. His Choke and the EX version of it, instead of being -14 on block, are now -4. They are still highs though, so they can be ducked. Kenshi, he just got a bunch of bug fixes. Like, he had a low attack that could be parried high, and some weird situations that he had that weren't damage scaling right or juggling funny. But he also got a nerf in Kenjutsu where he had armor on Telestrike. That is no longer the case. But overall, Kenshi, relatively the same, just a couple of bug fixes and some minor changes. Next up, we have the Kitana changes. She got a ton of them. She got a new down 1, which, as you can see there, has huge range. It reaches from just about starting distance, just a little bit further. Her Rising Uppercut move, if you do the EX version of it, the second hit can be canceled into Airborne Special. So as you can see there, you can cancel in a fan and continue up with a combo after. A bunch of her frames changed, to be honest. She got a ton of different frame data changes where moves that were previously punishable on block are now safe or plus, actually. A bunch of different strings that are, you know, much more useful now because they're no longer punishable. Her EX fan, the second one is now a mid, as you can see there, right? Before they were a double high, now the second one's a mid. She just got a ton of changes in general. She got her Royal Storm attack there. That move is now a hard knockdown. It used to not be a hard knockdown. Assassin, her parry starts up in 7 frames instead of 18. She got easier juggles than Mournful and, you know, faster Shadow Kick. Just a lot of changes. Mostly 99% all really good buffs, and the character looks way better now. Next up, we have Kotal Kahn and Kung Jin. Kotal Kahn got a bug fix where one of his low attacks was able to be parried by highs, and he got a buff on his Sun God command throw. So as you can see here, it doesn't quite reach from starting distance, but if you take a small step forward, it actually reaches from a huge range, which previously it didn't quite go that far. Kung Jin got a pretty interesting change, and now Liu Kang got a really similar one, and that's that their low projectiles now actually put them in a low state. So if a high projectile is coming at Kung Jin, when he does that, he'll actually duck under it like he's neutral ducking, which is a pretty nice change for Ancestral. Next up we have Kung Lao and Liu Kang. Kung Lao got a bug fix where his wake up teleport no longer builds meter, which is really nice, and Tempest got a fix where the hat spin wasn't correctly scaling combo damage, so he was doing huge damage. So there was a fix to that, and he got a bunch of buffs in hat trick. So now that is a mid instead of being a high, and this version of it is actually a low. Plus, a lot of his hat trick moves just have less recovery now, better hitboxes, easier to combo off of. Pretty nice for this variation of Kung Lao. Liu Kang got a couple of changes. One of them I mentioned with Kung Jin. This projectile is actually it counts as ducking. So if your opponent's projectile is a high, you can actually duck under it with this projectile. It's pretty nice. Kung Jin can do the same thing in Ancestral. He got some pretty cool changes in Flame Fist, which is the variation we're in right now, where he can cancel this move into his other special moves. So if you want to cancel in a Dragon Kick, right, you can do that. If you want to cancel into this buff, you can continue comboing off of it too, which is pretty sick. If you want to cancel in a low projectile or whatever you want to do, pretty nice, right? So Liu Kang got some new options, and in Duelist, his low sphere is actually a low now. It previously wasn't, which means he has better mix-up potential, and some pretty scary stuff in that variation as well. So good changes to Liu Kang. Next up, we have Mileena changes. She got some general fixes, but also changes in each one of her variation. In Piercing, when she throws this low side, she actually ducks now, which means, as you probably guessed, she low profiles high projectiles. In Ravenous, she got a couple of interesting changes as well. So she has a string that heals her now when you do this, right? So as you probably noticed in the upper right there, I gained some life back from that low side that I got hit by previously, which is pretty unique, right? So this string actually gains you some life back, and it can be extended. She has additional hit advantage on her command throws in this variation, which is pretty nice. I mean, she gets more time to run up and do mix-ups. And in her other variation, her teleports are now faster, and that means you can extend your combos with them, which is really, really sick as well. And yeah, just some, you know, general fixes and buffs to Mileena that I think are really, really useful. Next up, we have Raiden and Reptile. Raiden got a bunch of different changes. Two of the nerfs that he got were in Thunder God, he does less chip damage on his charged up normals, and his Electric Fly and the EX version of it have a slightly smaller hitbox. He did get some neat changes actually that help him out, and that is that his combo, this string right there, back 3-4 is now special cancelable, which wasn't the case before. And Master of Storms and Displacer got a new string, which is forward 1-2, back 2. Looks like this. You can combo off of it with normals, and it's also special cancelable, so that's pretty nice as well. You can combo off of it with stuff like EX Shocker. So pretty nice changes for him. Reptile got a bunch of changes. I don't even want to bother reading them for you guys because there's a lot of them, but pretty much every single thing he does now does additional damage. So this character who previously had a very low damage output now hurts when he hits you. He actually has really good damage, so definitely recommend checking out those changes. Next up, we have Scorpion and Shinnok. Scorpion actually got a nerf to his 2-1-4 string, looks like this. Has less cancel advantage, which means that a lot of the run cancel combos he could previously do are much more difficult, and he can't really do that 2-1-4 run cancel pressure that he was known for previously. In ninjutsu, he got a bunch of damage buffs to pretty much everything he did, including his back 2 and forward 2, which actually do way more damage now. He just got general damage buffs to this variation in general since it wasn't seeing very much play. Shinnok actually got some hitbox changes and got buffs to all of his zoning tools in Necromancer and Bone Shaper for the most part, so he actually got some really interesting changes as well. Finally, we have the Sonya and Tanya changes. Sonya actually got a couple of changes. Her dive kick, as you can see there, has some additional recovery. I'm trying to jump instantly once I hit the ground, so it's a lot easier to punish and deal with that kind of situation. Her EX Energy Blast is now a mid instead of a high. EX Leg Grab and the Flying Kick now do some extra damage, which are the two moves you just saw there. And in Demolition, her 1-1-2 string has some extra cancel advantage, which is pretty nice because that means you can do stuff after a lot sooner than you previously were able to. Tanya had some interesting changes. Her EX teleport, not quite as good as it used to be. Before, when she did the EX teleport, she actually had armor, and that is no longer the case. You can also not attack out of an EX teleport for 10 frames if it's blocked, which means countering the EX teleport when she wakes up with it or does it in a block string is much easier. It stops a lot of the block infinites and just really, really plus situations she had before. which helps her out a lot. Got some changes in Kobujutsu to make her Rekkas not quite as unsafe if you delay them, and a Pyromancer, she has increased pushback on blocked fireballs. So those are the changes for Mortal Kombat X. I didn't cover every change in this patch. If you guys want to check out the patch notes themselves to see some of the bug fixes or certain characters that I didn't talk about who had smaller changes, check out the link in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.